Welcome back to Mindful Journey. I'm your host Yusuf, and today we are getting very honest about a habit that's widely normalized, casually celebrated, and quietly wrecking people's results. We are talking about how alcohol sabotages body recomposition, that muscle building, fat loss, sweet spot that everyone wants. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: you can train hard, eat clean, hit your protein, take your supplements, and still feel like your body is not cooperating. And for a lot of high performers, the missing puzzle piece isn't your workouts, it's your semi responsible drinking. My guest is Clifford Stephan, founder of Booze Vacation. Clifford built a successful consulting career in Silicon Valley. He stayed active, ate clean, and did all the right things. Yet, in his mid 40s, he started feeling like he was falling apart, exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep, stubborn belly fat, losing mental edge, even feeling it sexually. He assumed it was easing, but when he dug into the science, he found something most people don't want to look at. Alcohol was quietly messing with his sleep, hormones, and gut health. In 2019, he took his first extended break from alcohol and everything shifted. So, if you are listening and thinking, I'm doing everything fine, but I still feel off, this episode might be the recipe you have been avoiding. Clifford, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Clifford, you were doing the classic high performer routine: gym, clean food, supplements. When did you first realize, wait, something's not adding up?
It probably started, you know, later in my 30s. I think it became more acute early 40s, but yeah, I was definitely starting to notice some of the signs in my 30s. And I think kind of part of the problem is when you're running fast with your business and your family and your buddies, um, you get used to not looking and feeling your best, and so it becomes more common and normalized. But yeah, it was, yeah, definitely kind of doing some suboptimal habits to kind of try to keep keep the energy and the focus up. Too much caffeine and kind of foggy and unproductive. Pretty bad sleep issues. So yeah, it's kind of subtle, and like I said, I think it's pretty common, especially men of success that are doing well in their business and with their family, to think that kind of everything else is okay. But oftentimes, yeah, with the regular alcohol use, it can really start eroding your mood and your discipline and your stomach and, your body composition. And you can just kind of start noticing it pretty pervasively, if you look, and a lot of guys kind of like to play dumb with it, and they don't look that close, and they kind of think they're doing fine. They kind of blow off a lot of the obvious warning signs, but like myself included. But then I kind of, it just wasn't getting any better. I'm like, okay, I always prided myself as being kind of a health nut and a fitness nut. I got a degree in nutritional science. I always played lifelong athlete. And so that was really part of my identity. And so when that started to slip, that was a pretty good wake up call.
Talking about wake up calls, what was the first data point that you couldn't ignore? Like, this is the time that I have to do. Maybe sleep, belly fat, mood, etc.
Yeah, definitely. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea and they wanted to put me on a CPAP machine. So that was pretty horrific to be strapped to a machine. And I actually tried it, didn't work. So my poor sleep continued and I had this mask. And so it was very tough to, yeah, not be sleeping and living a high performance lifestyle of, dealing with clients and dealing with family and trying to work out and trying to watch what I eat. And when you're not sleeping well, none of that really matters because that's really the cornerstone of your health. So that was a pretty big red flag there.
So most of the people say that I am not a alcohol addict. I just take on social occasions, etc., etc., and that does not harm me enough. What is your take on that?
Yeah, it's tricky. My take is we're not pushing sobriety. We're not targeting alcoholics. We're trying to give guys a choice in a environment where I don't really see much of one. Guys will try cutting back or they'll take a month off, but that's really not going to change their drinking habits, which isn't going to really help them get healthier. And so I think the main issue isn't whether you're having 5 drinks or 20 drinks. Obviously, there's a big difference there, but the regular use, because that's going to perpetuate a bunch of um, it's gonna dysregulate key systems of health, primarily your sleep and diet and fitness levels, and it's gonna also perpetuate a bunch of unconscious habits where you're just not looking and feeling your best, so you might be more prone to grab some junk food or a cup of coffee, and so it kinda just sets you on this normalized it really erodes your diet and lifestyle, and that's really how you're gonna set and make your performance and and live a great and kick-ass life, or you're going to struggle, you're gonna deal with age, wear and tear. The longer you drink alcohol, the more tolerance you'll build up, so the more you'll need to get to levels of enjoyment, which will be harder on your aching body, so it's just the whole equation, and so we advocate on a minimum of a 3-month break, which most guys, again, it's they don't wanna hear it. They enjoy alcohol, it's benefiting them. It's how they do close deals, it's how they, go to events, it's how they hang out with their buddies, and so not doing it seems like a pretty dumb idea, but they don't realize because you were really ultimately asking the wrong guy that's probably at about 60%. So, the only way to get to 100% is take a break, but it is tricky because I don't drink that much, my buddy drinks more than me, I work out, I take the supplement, I have plenty of money, and so it's easy to kind of, kick that beer can down the road and continue to drink, and so but yeah, it's really just, a simple equation when it boils down to, age, wear and tear, your body's already not doing as well. You get into your 40s and into your 50s, sleep is no longer negotiable. You have to be sleeping or you're just not gonna recover. It's gonna mess up your metabolic health. It's gonna really kind of increase a lot of cravings around sugar. So it really just sets you on a bad trajectory, even in very small amounts. And the other thing I think is common is a guy will have a cocktail and be like, "I had a drink or 2," but there's 2 or 3 servings in each one of those cocktails. And so it's like, "Okay, no, you had 5 drinks. That was actually a binge." It's like, "Oh, I thought I just had 2," And so it's this guys are conditioned to play dumb with it, and so it's tricky. Nobody's tracking their drinks. Nobody gives a shit when you're drinking and you're having fun or you're at a tailgating party. It's 3 hours. Okay, I'm gonna have a couple drinks every hour. So it's like, did I mean to drink eight drinks? No, but like I was hanging out for 4 hours, and you just once you start, you typically perpetuate. And so it's just a lot of these little micro habits that really crystallize and really have a profound impact. And that's why yeah, getting smarter with your alcohol use is really important if you want to maintain your health and quality of life and performance levels.
So, it is in those small things that you can actually build something productive, like maybe taking walk daily bit by bit can make you healthy, and similarly taking a drink today, tomorrow, or maybe a bit by bit degrades your health. It's very similar concept, I would say.
Yeah, but it goes so much deeper because it does impact so many systems of your health and your brain, and it's rewiring your circuitry. It's lowering your mood, it's increasing your stress, it's creating a leaky gut, it's creating inflammation, it's making you more sedentary, it's making you more hungry. So it's doing it subtly, but it's doing it across all of these systems. It's lowering your testosterone, which changes your discipline. So it's small increments, but over time it makes everything go in the wrong direction, and so healthy habits just become harder and harder to pull off, and even if you're doing them, but you're still going big on the weekends, it's enough to negate a lot of that hard work, and then people are like, "Hey, I did all this stuff, it's not working out," and then they start letting those healthier, routines slip because they're not getting the results that they want.
You mentioned losing your edge. mentally, physically, and sexually. This is a very huge deal for high performers. How does alcohol actually interfere with those systems, even when the drinking looks moderate?
Yeah, the obvious one, again, we focus on men of success, but yeah, to get to levels of success, it usually takes some time. Usually you're not getting there till your 30s, 40s, and then you're maintaining it or growing it in your 50s. So by the time you get into your 30s and 40s, I mean, your peak testosterone levels are at 18, 19. So they're already degrading. Environmental toxins, plastics everywhere, and then alcohol is not only just directly lowering testosterone levels. It's lowering your sleep quality where you optimize and restore critical hormones, including testosterone. It's adding more belly fat, which is estrogenic, which converts your muscle into fat. And so when it comes to just men of success, yeah, it's like testosterone is kind of our master hormone. And so that's taking a hit across the board. And that really impacts your energy, your drive, your focus, your ability to do hard things. And so you get soft, and yeah, you're not gonna be keeping your edge if you're getting soft and pudgier and dimmer, and yeah, it really affects your confidence, how you show up, your sharpness, your hunger. So it's a bunch of different ways.
Hey, listeners, if you are enjoying the mindful journey, take 2 seconds to follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the show reach more people who need a softer, steadier space to land. And if he can leave a quick review, it seriously make a difference. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
And what are the changes that we see as we age that makes the alcohol effect more intense?
Yeah, the obvious one is sleep. It's alcohol is so hard on your sleep, even small. It doesn't take much, to dysregulate it. You can have a drink or two, it could lower your sleep quality by 30-40%. It's also really changing your sleep schedule, your eating habits. You might pick up a bag of chips or, eat some leftovers or something, later than you would normally would. So it's affecting your sleep schedule. Um, and yeah, instead of having restorative sleep, your body's busy detoxifying and digesting and so yeah, there's it's setting you on a path. It's going to really negatively impact your brain, your cardiovascular health, your gut health, your hormone levels, your look and feel. So yeah, it just becomes more and more noticeable, and it does really speed up and accelerate age, which nobody wants.
Right. If you had to rank damage, sleep quality, recovery, hormones, inflammation, etc., etc., what are the biggest bottlenecks?
Sleep. And again, sleep is a cornerstone. So when you say sleep, you're saying recovery, you're saying optimizing hormones to make you look and feel your best. You're you're changing your brain, you're shrinking your prefrontal cortex, you're setting yourself up for a bunch of negative states. And it also really impacts your metabolic health. And so um, your diet choices, how you process calories, how you store fat. It's increasing visceral fat, which is highly inflammatory. There's so many different ways that it's, kind of dragging you down and softening you.
Wow. And a lot of people say that they they gain weight mysteriously, and that too they shows up around the middle of the torso. Why does alcohol seem to make belly fat so sticky, especially in 40s and 50s?
Yeah, so it's part of a man of success, and I can speak for myself. Alcohol is part of your operating system. It's how you close deals, it's how you go to a party, it's how you hang out with your buddies, it's how you de-stress after a long day. Um, Whatever, it's how you watch the football game. It gets embedded in your operating system, and so you're regularly doing it. And so when it comes to weight loss and cleaning up your fatty liver and stripping the visceral fat, and then you factor in a standard American diet, which is a lot of processed food, way too many carbs, and way too much of it, and way too much sedentary lifestyle, it really becomes very predictive. And so there's no chance in hell you're going to, be in a caloric deficit where where your metabolic health is switching over to fat burning. So it's kind of like carb diet isn't terrible, but it does produce a little bit of garbage. And then kind of a ketogenic diet or intermittent fasting can kind of take out the garbage. But if you never take out the garbage, if you're always just constantly plowing your liver with sugar and carbs, it's going to be inflamed. It's going to spill into visceral fat, and then it's going to grow on your belly. And so even if you're trying to work out or eat a kale salad, you really can't kind of outrun your physiology and out diet any of that or out workout. And so, especially as your metabolism is going down, and yeah, your sleep is a really big important factor in metabolic health and how you store calories. So yeah, that's a really big one. That's a really big one. And that, and with that goes your blood sugar, your triglyceride levels, your cholesterol levels, your inflammatory markers. So with that, it's a big bag of predictive problems on the blood work side of things as well.
Let's talk about booze vacation. What does a successful booze vacation actually look like?
Yeah. So we would help guys pack their bags, as we call it. So we want them to take a minimum of a 3-month break from alcohol. We don't expect them to be ready to go on day one. A lot of the work is being done around getting them, I hate to use the word, educated and more aware of how alcohol is negatively affecting them. We want to get them in a position where they want to take a break, not feel like they have to. And so as they get more information, as they kind of start connecting the dots with their sleep apnea or CPAP machine and their blood pressure medications and how it's only going to get worse if they don't kind of address this, then they have a little bit more resolve, and they're ready. We plan it around their, hey, maybe I have to attend this wedding or I have this event, but then we want to get them going and do that 3-month break. Kind of, we really need to figure out some strategies around their socially and at work and how they're going to navigate that. So we want them to have a good game plan. We want them to know what they're going to say when someone asks why they're not drinking. We want them to have good non-alcoholic beers or other good drink alternatives so they're not going to a party empty-handed. We want them to show up confidently and looking and feeling better than they have. So people are like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? We want to coach that process up. And as we kind of get them through that initial awkward stage, which is primarily the worst is the first 2 to 3 weeks, then we just continue to get them to more events and continue to kind of get all these learnings and get these reps socially and at work. So they're getting better at it. And then we're really actively re-regulating these key systems of health that alcohol is so good at screwing up. So dialing in their sleep, diet, and fitness, which is in turn is going to improve their metabolic health, their sexual health, their cardiovascular health, their hormonal health, how they look and feel, their sports performance, their sexual health. So it's really about getting them as noticeable quick gains as possible. So they have that momentum, they have that positive flywheel going, and they're stoked on it. There's going to be ebbs and flows where they're doing great. And then you get to a month, you're like, hey, I feel great. I wouldn't mind having a drink. Like it's just kind of normal stuff that you have, because again, it is really wired in a man of success brain, especially in all the peer circles I've ever been in, where alcohol is this kind of reward mechanism. And so when you're doing well, you want to kind of get that reward. So you have to kind of continue to try to starve out that old operating system and ultimately get them to, the completion. They're going to have a bunch of gains stacked up. They're going to lose the weight. They're going to be stronger. They're going to be, more sexually viral. They're going to have better blood work. They're going to be in a better groove with their family, and they're going to want to keep those gains. And so we'll also kind of guide them on how to go back to drinking. It's not about never having another drink. A lot of guys will continue to extend their vacation, but it's not about, ultimately that's up to them, but it's really just kind of helping them, understand, really give them a more educated choice on what they want and see what it's like being at 100% and what those trade-offs are. Because there's always trade-offs.
And Clifford, are there any ways that our listeners can connect with you?
Yeah, they can check out boozevacation.com/quiz is a really good way. There's a lot of information. We have free resources, but we have a 3-minute men's health assessment quiz that's really telling about how you're doing across the board, probably more than your annual physical, but we're going to look at kind of just basic metrics of health when it comes to some of your habits and some of your symptoms, and it's not even that much on drinking as much as just body composition and habits and self-rating on how you're doing in key areas when it comes to your sleep and your fitness and your performance and your stress levels, and so that's very telling. So yeah, that's a really good resource. And then you get a really nice report out that gets into our methodology, and which is in essence, if you're not optimal in your sleep, diet, and fitness, and you're aging, wherever you're suboptimal, you're going to pull down those other areas that are optimal, and you're just going to kind of have a faster decline and a very predictive path of cardiovascular disease, cancers, blood sugar, diabetic issues, et cetera. So very common, but very easy to fix if you address them within that window of time before the hits the fan.
And Clifford, is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, check out Booze Vacation. Check out boozevacation.com. It's, I think it's pretty common for guys to think that I don't drink that much. It's not that big of a deal, but getting smarter with your alcohol use is probably one of the biggest performance hacks you can do out there when it comes to your health and your performance and your quality of life, your outlook, your mood, your sexual health. It's a really big deal. So I think it's an important gift that guys need to give themselves, especially if they enjoy it, to learn how to enjoy life without it as well. So they can kind of mop up any obvious areas. Most guys are not, don't have the body composition, don't have the sleep schedules, don't have the habits that are going to support enjoying what they've built. So that's important. If you built it, you should keep it and enjoy it for as long as humanly possible. So that's what we're all about.
If this episode hits a nerve, don't shut it down. Get curious. Your body is not falling, it's communicating. And ask yourself this question: what am I really using alcohol to change in the moment? Stress, pressure, boredom, loneliness, celebrations, shutdown, name it. That awareness alone is a power move. And if this episode helped you think differently, share it with a friend who's always on it but still feels off. That person is everywhere. I thank Clifford Stephan for helping us and enlightening us with his knowledge. And don't forget to follow the mindful journey so you don't miss the next conversation. And you've got 10 seconds, drop a rating and a quick review. It genuinely helps more people find the show. Until next time, protect your peace, honor your body, and keep choosing the path that actually moves you forward.